been away for 6 weeks, five weeks of retreat, Cloud Mountain, and it was wonderful. Um, how often we have retreats and the theme seems to be dukkha, you know, and that a lot of our retreats sometimes are the looking at dukkha, the going through the Four Noble Truths, hopefully getting to some point where there's some sense of freedom. And I would say this retreat's theme was sukha, happiness. So it's not the end of the path, but it's a good and important part of the journey. And so having, a lot of my 5 weeks be in that happiness realm, I thought today we could use one of the suttas, just a section of it, that really focuses on the happiness aspects of meditation. And most of the extracts, what I'm just simply going to do is use the well-being cascade, is what Ajahn Kovalo has termed it, or I don't know if he coined that, or but he's making it popular. So I appreciate that. And I'm using the booklet that he put together, the translations in the back. And so before I begin, I will pay homage to the Buddha and then say a little bit about settling and coming to, because we start with dukkha, don't we? So some point in your day there probably was some touch of dukkha, and we'll talk about where that can actually lead us. That's awesome. So homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sangham Namasami. And it was a joy to be on retreat, but I'm also quite happy being back. So with this opportunity to support Ayasuvijana in 2 weeks of retreat, and this opportunity to come back on Zoom and have a nice hour of quieting, and the happiness that comes from our development, our practice. So the sutta we did on Tuesday that Ayasuvijana led us through was the Upanisa Sutta, I think is how it's pronounced. Let me just double check that. Upanisa, all shorts. Upanisa Sutta. There we go. And in that sutta, it goes through this, you want freedom? Well, what's the cause for freedom? And it goes down and down and down and down, and and through the dispassions, and through the clearly seeing, and the meditations, and the happiness, and faith, and then it gets down to dukkha. And so a lot of times, as we take the cushion, we're driven to the cushion from dukkha, or we're driven to the cushion because we already have some faith. But for a lot of us, the starting point for our practice in the past was dukkha. That's why we started looking. And for me, I came across the Four Noble Truths, and I said, "What's this?" And well, it led somewhere good. Some faith arose, and from the faith, then the practice commenced. And what the Buddha suggests is that from that faith, what emerges, the faith is a condition for joy to emerge. And so from joy, there's this condition for rapture. And I'll give you a bunch of different words just to inform your practice. I would say from gladness, a joy emerges, and from the joy, what a kind of a starting to settle happens. This kind of peacefulness, this serenity, and from that there becomes this happiness, and then from the happiness we go into that stilling. Things settle and still. There's a steadiness to it. And from that emerges the truly knowing and seeing. So I'll read through just that portion, the truly knowing and seeing, the disillusionment, dispassion, freedom. I'll read through it more slowly to the ending and the simile of how this is like a rain. And then what we'll do is just in that time, as you're hearing this part of the sutta read, just settle. Just find your seat. Take a posture, feeling the surface below, finding the balance point in your spine, feeling if the breath is moving as easily as it can right now in the body the way it is right now. That Pasari one is talking about in the body this quieting that begins to happen. So, we can set up the good conditions for that by having a good base, a good space, an alignment, and a softness that allows the breath to just move. So go ahead and just fiddle a little bit to find what that is for you as I more slowly read through that section of the sutta. And then as we begin just this practice of meditation, I'm just going to drop in the words of the well-being part of that cascade of going through from that initial joy that emerges after the faith and into the kind of the gladdening part, and then into the joy and into the ease that comes into the body, into the happiness that emerges in the mind, and then how that's the condition for being able to be very settled, stable, still. All right, and then I'll be quiet and we'll just practice together. So just take these words as seeds for your meditation, and see if anything that matches that arises out of the natural conditions that happen when you're practicing over time. Okay. So take that posture now. So we came into this birth, this body, this lifetime, and from that there is the vital condition for dukkha, suffering. And from suffering there is a vital condition that I'm saying that backwards. I'm so sorry. The suttas, I'm at the end of the sutta. From the condition of being born and being in this life, it is the condition, the vital condition for suffering, for dukkha. And dukkha is the vital condition for faith. Faith emerges. And faith is the vital condition for joy. And joy is the vital condition for rapture. Rapture is the vital condition for tranquility. Tranquility is the vital condition for bliss. Bliss is the vital condition for immersion, samadhi. Samadhi is the vital condition for truly knowing and seeing. Truly knowing and seeing is the vital condition for disillusionment, disenchantment. Disenchantment is the vital condition for dispassion, the fading away. Dispassion is the vital condition for freedom, liberation. Freedom is the vital condition for the knowledge of the ending of the sores, the cankers, the asavas. It's like when the heavens rain heavily on a mountaintop and the water flows downhill to fill the hollows, crevices, and creeks. As they become full, they fill up the pools. The pools fill up the lakes. The lakes fill up the streams. And the streams fill up the rivers. And as the rivers become full, they fill up the ocean. So too our practice goes from being in this body to dukkha, but from dukkha we get faith. From faith there is this gladness, and the gladness turns to joy. And that joy settles in the body, a body settling, which then leads to a happiness. And that happiness leads us into the conditions for sama samadhi, for a real stilling, a steadying, a settling. So with that sutta background, I'll take a pause and then I'll go through the 5 stages, starting with that gladness and working up to the samadhi, and then we'll just sit quietly. So at some point while we're practicing, it may be that pamoja emerges. And here are some translations. A sense of well-being arises. One gains gladness. Cheerfulness, gladness, joy arise. Gladness is born. Gladness, delight arises. Gladness is born within oneself. well-being arises. Joy springs up. Gladness arises. Delight arises. Delight springs up in them. Happiness is born. Pamoditassa piti jayati. So from this pamoja, piti arises. Joy. Having a sense of well-being, joy arises. When one is gladdened, joy is born in them. For one who is glad, rapture, elation arises. When one is glad, rapture, elation is born in them. When they are glad, delighted, joy, exhilaration arises. In one who is gladdened, rapture is born. When one experiences well-being, rapture arises. When you're joyful, rapture springs up. In one gladdened, rapture arises. Rapture is born from that delight. When one is thus delighted, rapture arises. From this happiness, joy is then born. And this is the joy, the zest and exuberance. It's an emotion. Piti. Piti manasakayo pasambati. From piti, the body relaxes. Having a joyful mind, one's body relaxes. being joyous in mind. One's body becomes tranquil. For one who is rapturous, the body becomes tranquil, relaxed. In one who is rapturous, the body becomes tranquil. For one who is joyful, the body becomes tranquil. In one whose heart is enraptured, the body grows calm. For one who is rapturous, their body becomes profoundly relaxed. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the mind enraptured, the body is satisfied. Being rapturous, one's body is impassible. When one experiences rapture, one's body is calmed down. With a joyful mind, the body relaxes. Pasadakayo sukhang vedeti. So now this relaxed body leads to this happiness. Having a relaxed body, one experiences happiness. Body being tranquil, one feels happiness. One whose body is tranquil feels happiness. One whose body is tranquil feels pleasure. One whose body is tranquil experiences happiness. One's body calm, one feels pleasure. One whose body is profoundly relaxed experiences non-sensual pleasure. When the body is tranquil, you feel bliss. One whose body is thus appeased is at ease. With the body impassible joy is felt. With body so calmed down, one experiences joy. A relaxed body feels content. Sukhino chittang samadhiyati. So from this happiness, we can become still, settled, steady. For one who is happy, the heart becomes concentrated. And the mind of one who is happy becomes concentrated. In one feeling happiness, the mind becomes still, concentrated. Feeling pleasure, one's mind grows concentrated. Feeling non-sensual pleasure, one's mind becomes concentrated. And when you're blissful, the mind becomes immersed. Being happily at ease, the mind is stayed. Because of joy, the mind is well concentrated. Being joyful, one's mind is concentrated. And the mind of one content becomes concentrated. This happiness leads to settling and composure. So with the Buddha's promise of this cascade of well-being, let us just settle into the meditation as it is and see what arises. And we'll sit in silence for about a half hour. And we can share the merits of this time of practice. May all beings be happy, truly happy, the higher forms of happiness. And may all the conditions necessary to get there come about. If you wish, you can join me in respects. Arahang Samha Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savakasango Sanghang Namami. May your practice continue in happiness.